Welcome to Sales Mavericks and Marketing Rebels, the show where bold business owners, savvy entrepreneurs, and sharp thought leaders push boundaries, challenge conventions, and redefine success in sales and marketing. And now your hosts, Nicholas Luisi and Marco Salinas.
Hi there, it's Nicholas Luisi with this week's episode of Sales Mavericks and Marketing Rebels, or Marketing Rebels and Sales Mavericks, whichever one you prefer. I'm on with my co-host Marco, who is with me as always, looking dapper. He's got sporting a great cap, and it looks like he's got his fishing shirt on. Oh my gosh, USS Texas. So he is representing the fine men and women of the armed services today. As always, this episode and all of our episodes are brought to you by Pina Colada Media. Pina Colada Media, if you're thinking of having a podcast, you have to talk to these folks. They make it so easy. I just show up, I look good, I just make sure I got some makeup on, and I just start talking. Pina Colada does everything else for us. So if you need a podcast, want to talk to the team about a podcast, or just thinking about, does it make sense for my business, visit the folks at Pina Colada Media. We are on today with one of the all-time greatest copywriters in the world. And an all-around great guy to begin with. So, sometimes copywriters, and we talk about some great ones on this show, are a little quirky. Not saying that this gentleman is quirky in any way, shape, or form, but he's a great guy and a great copywriter. We're with Jack Turk. Jack, how are you?
I'm doing great, Nick. It's so wonderful to be here. I'm honored and a little embarrassed by that introduction. Because I try to be as quirky as I can to be frank.
Well, Jack has, as I said in the pre-show that you weren't there, I was singing your praises, and I said you were the secret weapon and the lead copywriter, the director of copywriting, as well as the voice of Dan Kennedy for many, many years at GKIC. Now was the Nobius Insider Circle, now Magnetic Marketing. And you are not only a great copywriter when we were there, but you're a great copywriter because you have your own practice now. So what is going on in the world of copywriting, especially with ChatGPT and all of that stuff, right? So what's going on?
I think I saw something from Dan. I mean, obviously when I say Dan, I'm talking Dan Kennedy.
Sure.
I saw interview with him a few weeks back where he talked about it's sort of created a demarcation between the really good copywriters and everybody else. The A-list copy, the top tier, you're either a top tier copywriter, or to be flatly honest, you're going to be replaced by a bot.
Okay.
And that's kind of where it sort of is settling into. Now, I tend to believe there's plenty of work for everybody out there. A lot of businesses still don't even know copy exists. As Marco's a magnetic marketing GKIC guy. You're a GKIC guy from long ago. We all know most businesses, most small businesses, most entrepreneurs don't have a clue when it comes about real marketing. So there's tons of opportunities, I think, for copywriting moving forward for many years to come.
Okay. I'll agree with that. But if I'm a business owner and I'm just kind of dabbling into it, is ChatGPT and all that gonna help me just write copy? I'll be honest, I was on with my YouTube guy yesterday, and he went to ask Claude, right? And he's like, think you're an SEO person, think of the keywords that we need to tag for this video. Here's our audience, and blah, 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 blah. I was pretty impressed with the output. Now, I've been around good copywriters like yourself, about Dan Kennedy. I agree, the long form need to capture really good attention. To me, good copy is like a great novel, right? It's like a really good movie. It's like a script. It's like a song that just drives you in, that you just want to keep on reading. But for down and dirty stuff, what do you think? I mean, can we use that as small business owners?
I think it can generate. Somebody explained to me. I think this is a great way to think of ChatGPT. It's like a really smart fourth grader. It's a really smart fourth grader, and what it will provide to you is essentially what a really smart fourth grader can provide to you.
Okay.
It can in fact, a little bit better in terms of writing. It can write something that's clear, grammatically correct. The spelling's all good, has a beginning, middle, and end, etc. And for a lot of people who honestly aren't really good writers at all, it's probably having something generated is far better than nothing, you know.
Okay.
And so I think there is value there, but use it in a way that actually creates, better and better copy that actually is interesting. It doesn't sound flat because a lot of AI produced copy sounds kind of flat, mechanical, and without any personality. And so that's sort of the distinction where you got to know it to actually start being able to use it to that level.
Okay. I agree with that, right? And you're a big fan of personality and copy. So in essence, what we're talking about is using the personality of the business owner or of the thought leader or the information marketer,
Mhm.
whoever we're talking about, using their personality and having that personality come through on that. Um, I have always I remember being on stage with Dan and interviewing him about copywriting. We also had uh Bond, Gary Halbert's son on
Oh, yeah,
stage,
yeah.
and Doberman Dan, and the gentleman who passed away, Clyde, what I forget his name. He rode the motorcycles. He was a big time copywriter also. And those as
Makepeace.
well as
Clayton Makepeace.
thank
Clayton,
you.
Clayton, that's right.
Yeah,
Clayton
great
Mead.
Makepeace.
Awesome copywriter. Awesome. Brilliant.
Right. And so I put you in that category with those guys, and you guys make it look good. So if I'm a business owner and I'm buying into, okay, don't use ChatGPT because the fact that it's just going to be generic in exchange, and I probably can't afford to hire you or all those other guys, or maybe I should talk to you to see, and we'll let people figure out how to get a hold of you at the end. But how should I become better then?
I think you really have to know what good copy is. That's kind of the key distinction. Anybody who's actually using the AI tools to create copy, they have to start first knowing what they're looking for. If you don't have a sense of that, you're kind of walking into like a gunfight unarmed. You really need to know, you need to have look at stuff like, again, by Halbert, by Kennedy, by Clayton. What's really good copy. You get a sense of this stands out, and that gives you like a measuring stick, very high measuring. That's a very high bar, but at least you get a sense of like where you want to take it and go. I think a really cheap to be honest, a really cheap hack would be if you need find an email or a letter or something that you thought was pretty well written, and then explain to ChatGPT what you want. I need a letter, da 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 da, to sell. We're doing a special on our floor. We're a florist. We're doing a special, for your next wedding or something. We'll do a complete package for your wedding. Whatever. Come up with your widget, and then put in like an example of like what you thought was really good copy, and say, hey, I'm doing a special on wedding wedding flowers, etc., a whole package. Here's an example of here's a letter that I really love. Put that into the chat and say, give me something, kind of look at this, give me something like this, only about my service, and see what happens. Because what you've done, you've given chat context and an example, and that makes it so much more effective and more powerful.
Okay. Now, how about I'm a marketer and I'm a business owner, and I'm going to say two things, and I want you to keep me honest or debate me and tell me I'm completely off base. One is nobody reads copy anymore. It's all about video, right? It's all about TikTok video. It's all about creating YouTube reels or shorts or things like that. And I don't need to do that. I could just be really good in front of the camera.
Well, that's copy. Let's be
Okay.
let's be perfectly blunt. That is copy. I don't care. It's a different media, but that's still copy. And
Okay.
I can sit here and blather all I want about something, but if it's not compelling and the offer isn't good, it doesn't matter. And that's a specific thing too. I'm going to back off a little bit on to something that I've heard Brian Kurtz say, that it's the 41-39-20 rule when it comes to copywriting. 41% is your offer. 41% is having a killer offer. Just a really, like Halbert talked about, like the starving crowd looking for the hamburger. Okay.
Yeah.
So the other, so 39% is that starving crowd. Is your list nailed?
list.
Do you have that hamburger? Do you have that great hamburger? Do you have a starving crowd? And the other 20% is the copy. So A and B, if you get, offer and crowd, Kennedy used to say, if you have a classified ad could your classified ad sell like 3 lines at an offer, call now? If you got the starving crowd and the great offer, you'll kill. I mean, and I'm not trying to demean the art, the craft of copywriting or anything. I think we need to have a realistic assessment of where it fits and what you need to be focused. I really believe you need to focus on your audience, your customer, their needs, the heartfelt wants, plugging into something they desperately desire, and then coming up with a perfect solution to that. Probably more than you should be agonizing over what words you put on the page or what you say on the video.
So you beat me to my next question. So there's 2 parts to this question, then I want to get to that, because I think what you just said is spot on. So in the old days, when I had my agency, we used to go around and say, it's 60-30-10, right? Which in essence, Brian Kurtz just made it, it changed the numbers a little bit so they jump out at you. But 60-30, I'm not that bright. I'm not as bright as Brian, so I had to remember it as 60-30-10. Right, which is 60% is the list, right, going to the right audience. 30% is the offer, and then 10% is how pretty it is, the design. We were a design agency too, so that was the important thing, right? And because everybody gets tied up on the design, it should be blue, should it be red? Do I use a blonde-haired person? Do I use a brunette? It's really, that doesn't matter. It's having a compelling offer, a great headline, right? Blah 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 blah, and knowing the list. So 2 things I want to hit on that is really, I remember reading David Ogilvy, and he said, a copywriter should spend, I think it was 70% of the time, 80% of the time on the headline and the sub headlines, right? And if you think about Gary Benzaviga, he was big on the headline and also the bullet points.
Right.
And so what are your thoughts on that? Because that's copy, but I think it's more elegant copy, because it's one is that if that headline isn't good, forget it. They're going to scroll past you. They're going to keep on moving. They're not going to look at your advertisement, whatever that is. How much time do you spend on that?
It kind of depends. I'll be honest. Are
you formulaic?
I'm kind of formulaic. I do bang out a bunch of headlines and play with headlines a lot. I think the key thing about the headline, that there's an undertone to that, undercurrent to that I think is critical. It's that you really understand what's going on in that customer, that prospect's heart and mind at that point in time.
Okay.
That's kind of the critical undertone. And by working so hard on that headline, you're kind of, what did David say? I keep chipping away at the marble till Michelangelo. I keep chipping away until I discover David.
Yeah.
That's kind of how I look at headlines. I'll get like a rough draft of one, and I'll just keep chipping away, fine tuning it. And I like big headlines. I like Dan Kennedy style long headlines with clear benefits and subheads that augment that, build on the strength, etc. I play with that, but that's more I think that's the process of winning away everything that gets away from like the heart of your message.
Okay. So you've gone to it twice now, and I'm going to take you back there. You really are an advocate for understanding your ideal customer profile, your avatar, your target audience, whatever we want to call it, really understanding them, the pain that they're going through, what they want to achieve, all of that. Correct?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And okay. That's the easy part. the hard part is, how do I find that out? How do I figure that out? I am a business owner and I'm just trying to get through the day, and 3 people didn't show up. I own a restaurant, 3 people didn't show up. The produce guy delivered the wrong stuff. How do I get to that? As well as the 80 other things I'm doing all day long.
What I like to do is, when I did this for 2 things, for 2 key markets I've worked in really strongly, have been when I got into it, learned copywriting, got into it for the first time. I was a magician. That's how I got into copywriting, to sell my services as a magician. I learned this. I give Dave D great credit.
Yeah, Dave D, great, a great guy, phenomenal marketer. Runs, I think it's Dave D, right? .com or whatever. He runs a great group. Go ahead.
So and then right now I also work with dentists. So the 2 things I've done a lot with both those is there are online communities for magicians. There are online communities for dentists. I mean, these are kind of old school. Magic magicians have like the Magic Cafe, which is a huge old school forum of all these threads and topics and et cetera, et cetera. And I just read. I'd see what people are griping about, see people are complaining, what issues they're falling on. So I understand what their lives are like. And I do the same thing with dentists. Now there's Dental Town is a great forum for dentists. If you're
sure, that's been around forever. They had it's a great list too. If you're selling to dentists, that used to be a great list. Yeah,
fantastic. Now you got to think some of the stuff a little bit. So, the greasy, the squeaky wheel gets the grease, and so there's a lot of people. It's much more easier to complain. People are happy, aren't posting a lot of stuff about how crappy they're.
Well, that's what Yelp has built their business model on, right. and that type of thing. So those are great. I mean, I like to look at that. I like to look at similar products to you. Look at the reviews on Amazon. The customer reviews on Amazon are fantastic. Those are a great source. I also just try to, I also kind of like, you're probably not all that different from your customers in many ways. I think if you really are totally different from your customers, you may be kind of in the wrong market, to be honest. I mean, if you really can't relate to them, if you can't understand, if you got no affinity for them, for example, I was doing magic shows, so I did a lot of kids parties, tons of kids parties, and my target customer for my birthday party magic show was a mom who worked at Microsoft, and I worked at Microsoft for like 15 years, so I know a lot about people at Microsoft and what the lifestyle is like at Microsoft. Yeah, she didn't have any time to plan anything. She wanted it to be perfect, but she was working 85,000 hours, and probably crazy smart.
Loved her kid, didn't want to, So I wrote a letter to her.
Okay,
that was my sales letter, and thinking about what she worried about, what matters to her, etc. That's the kind of thing we just kind of, what's their day like? What are they thinking about? What are they worried about? And to be honest, also, ChatGPT is so valuable right now
for that
kind of thing. If you don't know anything about your customer, which I think is, why'd you even start your business if you know nothing about your customer? You really should know something about your customer before you even start the business. But I understand how that goes. We love doing this. We're gonna try this, or maybe there's an opportunity, etc. But ChatGPT is so valuable because it's got such a huge database of information that it's the entire web, it takes huge snapshots of everything. And I think it's just it has so much awareness of where these people are coming. If you ask it a series of targeted questions about your customer, it'll provide you so much valuable information.
I think you're spot on with that, right? So I do a lot with ChatGPT for sales, and I think it's phenomenal with understanding your ICP, right? Your pain of your ICP, and just really giving phenomenal snapshots of that. And I think that's what you're saying. Mm-hmm. You got to train it, right? And I think the problem is we want it to be easy, right? But you got to really think through the prompts and think through the questions and really kind of learn to explain it to them. But okay, so what you were saying reminded me a little bit of an interview or a article or something. Taylor Swift that's what she did, right? She was in all these forums. You're starting at 12 to now. She's like, I know my audience better than anybody because I know why they how heartbroken they are when they break up with their boyfriend, or girlfriend, or everything. And so she really was in these forums and just going deep on understanding the people that she's writing songs to. And
Brilliant.
was she the 39 billion,
That's brilliant. That's brilliant. Yeah, that's exactly right. Yeah.
I mean, that's a classic tone of how do I really understand my ideal customer profile. And it takes some work, right? And so, I was kind of setting it up that business owners don't have the time, but you're saying you got to do it, right? If you don't care about your customers, you don't want to know about your customers, then you shouldn't be in that business. Let's move on. I think so. Yeah, I agree with you. I think traditional businesses are probably a little bit more attuned to that. And I mean, keep me honest on this, Jack, because you do some work. What I would call the information marketers or the direct response guys, they're just trying to bring an idea to the marketplace, and they really sometimes don't have an affinity for the people that they're bringing that offer to. Would you say? I saw you look up.
Yeah, that can happen. I mean, I think that's kind of more of a biz op type thing.
Correct.
I think it fits in the biz op market more
Right.
than
And for those listening or don't know, it's the business opportunity market, and it's a lot of, I think that there's an audience and they will buy this product that I have, or this product that I'm white labeling, this product that I buy the IP for men in Texas with really great beards that like to wear baseball hats. And so I'm going to sell them.
Fantastic market. Fantastic.
Right. Yeah. Fantastic market. Everybody should be going after that.
Sign me up. Yeah.
Yeah. And so let me find that way. All right. So we covered, I don't know if we covered, but because you can't, right? But we're like, okay, how do you utilize ChatGPT and how do you utilize all that? And then you're saying, okay, now you got to know your people that you're selling to. And that's 60%, or Brian Kurtz's number. I don't remember what it was. But the other thing is, and I see this all the time when you're on a Facebook forum, or when I talk to clients, or probably when you guys talk to clients, I hear this all the time is, how do I get this list, right? How do I get the list? Now, we said the offer, you have to know, and now you have to have a good list. Is it just, you got to scrape it? You got to do old school. You got to, the old days we would go through the yellow pages or the white pages.
Yeah. Well, there's so many ways of acquiring eyeballs right now. There's that. And it kind of depends on what type of offer. For example, if your offer is the bleeding neck, what somebody calls it the bleeding neck, I like to call it the exploding toilet, which is when I was doing birthday parties. Okay. When I was doing birthday parties, I considered it like essentially an exploding toilet, because nobody thinks about a magician. I guarantee, Nick, you have not thought about a magician probably in today or for weeks or months. Same with you, Marco. I doubt you ever think of magicians until it's 10 days before your 5-year-old's birthday party. You got 30 other 5-year-olds coming. Their moms and dads are coming as well. You've got all this stuff, and you're going, what am I going to do for 2 hours with 35-year-olds?
Besides feeding pizza.
And trying to pin the tail on donkey and stretch that out for like an hour and a half.
And the Ghostbusters are unavailable, right? Yeah.
Right. So that is the bleeding neck, the exploding toilet. Nobody ever thinks about a plumber until the toilet explodes. So I always thought that is the perfect scenario for. I used SEO on my website. I worked really hard to have good SEO for the kinds of keywords, the kind of keyword phrases that people would be searching on.
Okay.
And also pay-per-click ads. I did pay-per-click ads also for those, again, same keywords.
So PPC and SEO. Okay.
Yeah. So those are, and I think those are generally, I think that's a great media for that kind of immediate need. I need to solve a problem now.
I'm going to Google and I'm searching for, I need a plumber in like ASAP in my area. Right. It's the old yellow pages that you and I grew up on.
Absolutely.
And maybe Marco a little bit, where you would go to plumber, right? And you find the person that has the best ad, or that can get there immediately. You start calling.
Right. And in terms of if you want to do direct mail, gosh, there's list brokers out there. I mean, Craig Simpson, for example, is a fantastic
Yeah,
guy.
Craig's a great guy.
He's
But
brilliant.
I make the argument, especially on B2B lists, because that's where I spend a lot of my time. Half the data is bad. There's a lot of waste, right? And so do you do anything to augment that? Do you send it out to a service? Do you try to, or do you leave that to the list broker and say, hey, I'm just delivering you copy?
I tend to just leave it to them.
Okay.
I only work with a couple, really. Craig and Travis Lee. I mean, I work.
Oh, Travis is spot on. Yeah. And then Justin is good too over at Profit 911.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So those are to be perfectly blunt, those are the three guys I've worked with the most.
Yeah.
And I don't have to concern myself with that kind of thing, because I know they're reputable. They're all brilliant. They're all great at what they do. They know what they're doing. So I can kind of, if you're doing direct mail, emails lists is, I think, God, I mean, that's like the Wild West, to be honest, how you want to do it. I mean, if you want to buy a cold email list, God bless you and good luck with that. I just have no faith. I really have very little faith in cold email lists, primarily because I don't believe in the one-off sale, to be honest. And I think that's kind of another.
Explain that to me. So for the people listening at home,
I think if you're trying to build your business off like unlimited
transactional one-time deal,
one-time buys, it's a really, unstable platform for a business. I mean, what you really want is relationships that build over time, that you can expand upon the relationship. You can provide greater services, more in-depth products, etc. So they come to trust you, know you, like you, and trust you over time. And a cold email, my God, that's a hard way to get introduced. Like, you never heard of me before, you weren't even thinking about me before, and now I sent you this offer. I mean, that's tough. People do it. I mean, I that's just not the way I think. I don't think it's the right way. I don't think it's a great approach. I think it's possible, but I don't think it's the optimal approach.
Do you think that's the difference of a way of thinking of an entrepreneur versus a small business person? Small business person is transactional. You come in. Now, I may want you to come back a lot, but you just come in once. An entrepreneur is like, okay, I've got this people. I've got this audience. What can I sell to them? What can I cross-sell to them? What can I oversell to them? How do I put other services? Who do I do JVs with? All that. I think, one is three-dimensional. The other one is probably 1.5 dimensional.
Well, it's multi-dimensional. I mean, you nailed it, Nick, with that description, that it's not just thinking of them as a one-off. You're thinking of, I now am invested in this human being and their entire life and their entire suite of needs and desires and dreams. And we're kind of come full circle too.
Yeah.
To like going back to understanding your customer. Because as an entrepreneur, if I understand my customer to that level, maybe I can't provide every stinking thing they would ever want or need, but I got a guy. I got a guy who can help you. I got a guy who can help you with this. I got a guy who can help you with this. And so now you are not only just somebody who's like offering a service or a product, you're an advisor. You're a friend. You're saving them time, money, energy, etc. So that's, who are they going to go to after that? Yeah. They're going to, that's a whole different way of thinking. And that's also a whole different way of like, true entrepreneurs are always looking, what other opportunities are there to serve this person?
Yeah. I thought you were going to say, because you said, I got a guy, you're from the old neighborhood in Chicago. I got a guy for you. Don't worry. I thought that's what you meant by that. But okay. Yours was better, right? From a business perspective. All right. So I know we're coming up on 30. You got some more time for me? Because I want to go deep on one last thing. Are you okay with that?
Oh, yeah. Total.
Okay. I got the list. I've spruced up the list. I've got that. I now understand my people. I got that. Mm-hmm. Jack's told me I got to go deep on them. I'm scrolling through forums. You name it. I'm figuring it out. I see most offers being mediocre at best. right? So how do I spruce up my offer? How do I make it sexy for people? What do you say to that? Because that's now 30% of my success, right? So how do I get my offer to be drop dead? Oh my gosh, I got to do this.
There's a number of elements. There's some great, can't think of his name, Alex, wrote the book on offers.
Alex Hormozi.
Hormozi, yeah. I was thinking they had an M, not an H, but his book on offers is fantastic. And his formula is excellent in terms of like how big a promise can you make, how little risk there is, how fast can you accomplish it. I mean, those are kind of factors that are all built into it. I tend to think on a gut level, I think we sort of stop short in making the offer as perfect as possible. I worked on a project with Caleb O'Dowd and with his book Monetization, and he made it great that Halbert would say when you're kind of coming up with the offer, you should start the starting point should be it's just everything they would ever want in a nice bow tied on top package. So every stinking possible objection they'd ever have is wiped away. Now, not everybody can afford that.
Right.
I mean, to be honest, everybody just wants it done. We all
want it done for you. We're all lazy, right?
Like I don't. Like if I do a podcast, I don't want to have to hassle with the tech. I don't want to hassle with.
No, you want Pina Colada Media that just does everything for you. Does it turnkey? You just show up and do it. I mean, that's the most important thing to do it. I agree with that.
Yeah, but I don't even want my face on screen. I don't want to do anything. I just want to like have like my podcast going out, all the media being produced, etc. I mean, that's the ultimate. You like.
You got to do a little work, but I got you. I respect that.
But that's like. But you think about that's people. That's the ultimate offer. You start there, and then how can you make that possible? Then you kind of work your way back, I guess, to reality. But you should start with what is the ultimate thing they want.
Okay.
Really, I think, and I think I honestly think, just in practical sense, I always tried to look when I'm doing copywriting packages or development, whatever sort of thing, and also when I was doing magic shows, I tried to make the offer so good it hurts a little bit.
Hurts you as the business owner to put that into the marketplace. You got a little verklempt, if I could use Yiddish, right? You're a little, ooh, geez, okay. I'm kind of giving away the farm here. You're a mensch.
I'm kind of doing that, but you know what? I think that's, again, if you've got that attitude that this isn't just a one-off transaction.
Okay.
And I think too many people have, this is like my one and only chance to make a buck off this person. Well, that's okay. That's tough.
It's a different mentality. It's a different conversation that has to happen with the offer in their minds. All right. I gotcha. Now, we both grew up. All three of us grew up on the Giorgio letter, right? and we all wish it could be that easy. And it's 3 coins in a fountain. And for those that don't know, get Magnetic Marketing. I don't know where you get it nowadays, but get Magnetic Marketing. And there's a great through the Giorgio letters are a 3-step letter campaign that Dan Kennedy is famous for getting people to restaurants. All right, I want to know more about the work you're doing with your prompts and your ChatGPT. Can you talk about that, or is that secret?
No, I'm still learning. I'm learning as fast as I can. I'm still
okay. All right. Okay. So talk to me. What's going on? How can people hire you to do this type of work, or who is this for? Who's this not for? And what's the benefit of it?
Well, I've been playing with. I'll start off with saying, very coming clean as a copywriter. When I first saw what ChatGPT could do, it terrified me. It absolutely terrified
For
me.
your livelihood.
I thought I may not have a job anymore. I
Okay.
may be unnecessary. And then I started, and I think we've kind of gone past that stage. And I see it as an incredibly valuable tool in the creation of content. One of my big things has always been about always how to write fast, that you never start from a blank page. Oh my God, you never have to start from a blank page ever again. You just say, give me a draft of this letter. Yeah, right. Oh, thank you. My
So
toolkit.
this is your info product that is the ultimate write killer copy fast toolkit, right? So how to do it fast, but never start with a break. You saw this is pretty close to me. I was able to pull it off the shelf.
I'm impressed. I'm
Yeah.
impressed. Yeah.
So so keep on going though. I wanted people to see that.
Well, thanks. That was always one of my big tenets. Never start from a blank page. So now you never have to start from a blank page. So you want to look, what I've gone into though, is not just using ChatGPT to crank out copy per se, but to have it play different roles in my life and my business. For example, I've created GPTs to help me create offers using, working with, again, I'll give Hormozy's credit for his formula, other people's formulas, other ideas. I've built a offer creation GPT for myself. I've created GPTs to help me write bullets. I've created GPTs to help me write headlines, to generate ideas for headlines. I've created GPTs that act on a number of different specific ways. I've created GPTs to help me write my own voice, create my own jackpot, which help based on my own background, my samples, so it can help me generate things. I actually created a GPT to act as an advisor for my business, going back to a bunch of really amazing content from Dan Kennedy on the phenomena and other writings of Dan. Yeah. I created a what would Dan do kind of bot. That I ask it questions about business.
Yeah.
And so I think I've been building out GPTs for a number of other clients, basically, that play different roles. I've been playing around with building assistants, agents that a project manager assistant. So it was an excellent project manager, a social media manager assistant. So it was an excellent social media.
That's sexy. So then does that then make my associate, my project manager better, or do I not need one? Or do I think
you still need a project manager, but this is someone who can help you organize. The thing I saw Sam Altman, who's head of OpenAI.
Yeah. They're going to make it profitable.
Oh, yeah. Well, we'll see.
Right.
It took Amazon forever, but
that was today, right? Today on the Wall Street Journal, they're going to make it profitable.
Well, it's
now a for-profit company.
It is a
now when everybody has to start paying for ChatGPT, we're going to see about the adoption of ChatGPT, right? Because the fact that I can get all this stuff for free, now you want me to pay for it? Forget it.
Yeah, very few people are actually really using it right now. I mean, a few people are using it, but not that many. But I was saying, he said something about too many people are using AI as a database. Like, give me something. Take that raw data, reformat, and give me something better. Put it in.
I got you.
It's like a database, retrieve information. He said the real value is using it for analysis, and where you want to take something like this podcast, for example. You could take the transcript of this podcast and take it and do an analysis of what are the key takeaways for anybody who's listening to this podcast that they need to do.
So like you write your show notes.
Right. Like you're going to write your show notes. And then if you hand that off to a project manager, it's like, hey, which of these, a project manager who understands your business, understands what your goals are, understands your market, then could take that and go, okay, well, here's the specific steps we need to take right now to further our marketing.
Okay. So now you create these for information marketers, online educational marketers, as well as, business owners.
Yeah.
How does somebody get to you if they want to talk to you about this and create one for themselves? And who is this really good for, right? Because the go back to the butcher, the baker, the candlestick maker may or may not need this as much as the person that has a very, high-end information marketing business.
One thing I've been doing a lot is trying to create bots that can capture someone's voice. So like if you're if you're
if you're Nick Luisi, let's just use me.
Let's just say Nick Luisi.
Yeah, that way you don't have to try to name a client.
Okay,
People will try to backfill who you're talking about.
You're killing yourself getting content out the door.
I am. Yeah. I know I need to, but I can't.
You're right. There's so
I
many.
got bandwidth issues, right?
You got bandwidth. You are the bottleneck. There's so much. You want to write books. You want to write blogs. You want to write emails. You want to write sales letters. There's just so many. Videos, et cetera, all Twitter posts, Facebook posts, Instagram. So all that stuff. By creating a virtual Nick, a Nick bot, you can now have
Nick Luisi bot. What the world needs more of is Nick Luisi. My wife
the world desperately needs more Nick. The world is crying out for more Nick right now.
Okay.
I guarantee it. And the Nick bot is basically Nick's brain that can speak in Nick's voice.
Yeah.
Now you got to remember it's still a fourth grader. So
I got to try it. So I got to train it. I got to teach it. So how do I do that?
You got to keep it.
Besides hire you, but besides that, like how do I train it to be me?
Well, training it to be used like sort of that's sort of the
so that's the secret sauce. We don't want to go deep into
that's the secret
sauce.
Okay,
I see you're hedging, so I'll pull it back. So you got to train it to be me. We agree on that, and that's what you teach, and that's what you program, and that's how you educate the bot to do to be me.
Right. And then I also teach you. Here's
okay. So you teach me how to use it too.
Right. So it's still a GPT. Right. It isn't. And at least right now, the ones I've been building, they're pretty good at. In fact, they're very good at like just raw. Give me a letter. Give me a sales letter, and give me the virtual Dan I built. What would Dan do? I didn't even train it to be a copywriter, but I had to write me some copy, and it was amazing. It was like, holy crap, this is really good, but I didn't train it. And if I give it, again, whole thing GPTs need and chat needs and AIs, it needs context and examples. So then in using it, you give it examples. Okay, I need a 3-step email sequence. Here's examples of what was a great 3-step email sequence. I want something like this, only written to my market based on this offer.
In my voice, with these problems, all this stuff.
Right.
So do you think that this is the future?
Long-term future? I don't know. I mean, but
what's long-term in technology? Give me 90 days. Do you think this is 90 to 120 days?
Easily I think for the next several years, at least next 5 years, probably next decade. I can't say beyond that. I mean, who knows what's going to happen?
Yeah, I mean, it's Moore's law, right? Graham's law and Moore's law. Technology reproduces.
Yeah, I mean, they might be replacing us, and we'll be sitting there drooling and eating based on.
I read an article this weekend in the Wall Street Journal, I think, or Deal Book. It was your old boss, Bill Gates, said, if I was starting Microsoft today, it would be completely focused around AI.
I think that's probably Perry Belcher says he makes it. And if you know Perry Belcher is,
Perry Belcher is one of the greatest, good copywriter, phenomenal entrepreneur. Was part of Mastermind, the boardroom mastermind group, as well as a digital marketer. So
brilliant guy. He compares AI to essentially the invention of fire. Or the internet.
That's hyperbolic, though.
It's a little bit.
I mean, I'm going to call that hyperbolic. What do you think? I mean, fire really kind of
10 years, maybe 20 years from now, we'll look back and go, it was hyperbole, or maybe it was like prescient. I don't know. I can't say, and I don't know if I was kind of dealing with AI back in the late 80s, amazingly enough, when we were doing inference engines and decision tables. And that's like way back before we do neural networks, which is what it all based on now. And it had some pretty cool capabilities even way back in the late 80s.
Sure.
So
Jack, you don't know this about me, but in a past life, in fact, in college, I was a computer science major for a minute, short minute.
A brief span of time.
Then I went, and I went to U of I, University of Illinois, for those U of I, and my cousin's boyfriend was a phenomenal programmer, and he took me around the lab. And this is the late 80s. I'm aging myself just like you just did. And I saw what they were doing with AI. He actually was one of the programmers on the IBM chess, the one that beat the chess championship.
Okay, Watson.
Yeah, he was part of Watson, and now they spun off, and he's in AI now. And it was Netscape was there too, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I saw how good these programmers were. And I'm like, I will never be a programmer at that level, where you just saw genius. So I went over to the business school and got a marketing book and said, I got to figure this out, right? So that's how I became a marketing rebel and a sales maverick. But to answer you, I mean, a lot of this stuff has been around for a while. We're just bringing it to the mainstream. So young kids are dealing with it and that type of thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it has just exploded in the last couple of years with LLMs, large language models. That's maybe because now you can actually interact. It broke the Turing test. I don't know if you ever heard of the Turing test, which was Alan Turing back in I believe it was late 40s, whatever, early 50s, said, we'll hit computer intelligence when you can have a conversation with a computer and you can't tell it's a human behind. It is or isn't a human. Well, we passed that.
We're beyond that. I do a lot of research on AI for sales, and the AI voice stuff is that is scary. That is, it's not Max Headroom, which you and I grew up on, in the 80s and the 90s, right? It is, you don't know that you're not speaking to a human. And it's going to get better and better and better. And if you're thinking about what does that look like, I use this quote with clients. I heard it for let's call it Main Street America, right? Or W-2 employees. And it was, you're not going to lose your job to ChatGPT or AI, but you will lose your job to somebody that could use it better.
I think it's an incredible tool.
Right.
It has enabled me to serve my clients so much faster and produce it's because I'm like a hybrid. I don't just
you're a Jack on steroids.
Right. I don't totally rely on the AI.
No, you can't. You need some human intelligence to think through, does this make sense? But then I say to my clients, I said, you're not going to lose a customer to ChatGPT. You're going to lose a customer to another company that's using ChatGPT or AI better than you. Right. So I'm trying to keep it that way. But what about, so let me take the other side of the coin. And I don't know how we got to this, and now we're coming up in the hour. So Becca, are you okay?
Totally cool. Yeah.
You got anything you want to jump in on? So what about, I talk to marketers that focus just on law firms, right? So we do a lot of work with we had Ben Glass on, right? And so I do a lot of work in that space sometimes. And I was talking to one, and she's like, there are lawyers that have gotten disbarred. There are partners that have lost their jobs and got disbarred because of the fact that the associate just went to ChatGPT to write a brief, and they started citing the wrong information, and they're citing case laws that don't affect, right? And so, there's a dark side to this. How, as a business owner, do I keep myself away from the dark side of it?
I'll go back to that analogy. It's a fourth grader. It's a really smart fourth grader that wants to help you.
Okay.
That wants to.
So you need to go still, like if I'm the lawyer, I got to make sure that these are actual case laws.
You have to trust but verify. What was it? Reagan's famous quote about the Soviet Union: "Trust but verify." You must trust. You have to hold it account. And part of it is again, and reducing hallucinations. Heck, there's all kinds of research done and processes in place that people talk about. What can we do to reduce hallucinations? And
describe a hallucination, because I'm immediately thinking mushrooms.
Yeah, well, all the days. Okay, so hallucinations are based on the fact it wants to give you an answer. It wants to give you an answer.
Even if it's wrong, it wants to please you, so it wants to give you an answer.
It wants to give you an answer, and so it will make something up. Okay. It will hallucinate. It will make something up that is not true, that is not verifiable. And this is one of the most frustrating things people had with doing GPTs and bots, is that you'd ask it a question and it'll give you something. For example, if you're doing a bot for a restaurant, and like, here's the list. It doesn't have an answer. Like, what kind of beers do you have on tap? And it'll give you a long list, some of which you do have on tap, and others. Do you have any dark beers? Oh, yeah, blah, blah, blah. Well, they don't have any dark beers in that. They don't have that kind. So that's why the use of what's called resource augmented generation, RAG, bots, which is the use of PDFs. You basically constrain the knowledge base of the GPT. So if I'm using a GPT to write a legal brief, and I think that could possibly, I'm speaking, I'm not as a lawyer, whatever, but if I'm writing using ChatGPT to write something in a specific domain, okay, like knowledge domain, whether it's medicine or whatever, legal, marketing, etc., you don't want it to like base its response on the universe, the
there's junk out there.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
You want to constrain its knowledge to a very tight database of verified information.
So hence the work that you're doing with your chatbots, where you're creating with a very, very focused database. So in essence, it's scrolling through a database that you've programmed. But now, how does it learn? How does it get better? Is it that you got to put more stuff into the database, or does it learn by every time you tweak a search?
It works in terms of content, within a certain chat interaction. You can go back to, I go back and forth to old chat, for example, ChatGPT. You get, I don't know if you know the interface. I mean, I got dozens and dozens of interactions. I go back to old interactions because by the back and forth has given that instance. It's now in the memory. It's now you've worked with it, you beat on it, et cetera, et cetera. So it's getting better and better and better and better and better. The problem is it's not persistent across different instances of that same GPT. So I go to NickBot one time and I've worked that out. Get this email to for Ben Glass's group. Make sure it's perfect. And you go back and forth, Great, it's perfect. If you go back, start up a new NickBot, it doesn't have that memory. It's kind of stupid, to be honest. And I don't know. I haven't figured. I'll be totally honest. I haven't figured out how to fix that.
Yeah, I got you. Well, I mean, it's just trial and error, right? We just got to keep on trying to program it and keep on training it. I feel like we've become a little bit like Joe Rogan. We're going on an hour, and I still got like 80,000 questions for you. Can you come back? Because I know we gotta pay the bills in about 30 seconds here. Could we keep on talking about this at a different time?
Yeah, I'd be happy to.
All right, you're a gentleman. How do people that are hearing this learn more about you and work with you and all that good stuff?
Oh, I got a couple of email addresses. I have an email address for a website that I'm not really thrilled with, so don't count me. Jack@killermarketingmachines.com. And I'm still
all right. So the robots are going to come and kill us. Jack@killermarketingmachines.com.
Yeah. Killermarketingmachines.com. Right. The website is still kind of in beta, and I'm kind of playing with different things on it. So I don't know. Don't judge me by it. Don't judge me. Don't judge me.
Don't judge me. You're a copywriter. You're not a graphic designer. Yeah. All right. And okay, so that's the best way to get a hold of you vis-a-vis that. Okay. Yep. And we'll put that in the show notes. I know I owe you some stuff, so I got to get that to you. You're a gentleman. You're a scholar. I love the hat. I love the glasses. you've got the info product that I held up. Can people get that on the Killer Marketing Machine website?
No, that's at writekillercopyfast.com.
writekillercopyfast.com. And then how about that forum that you did, which I thought was the coolest thing, and where you had your college friend so name drop.
Oh, yeah, I did a copywriting summit back in February.
Right.
And one of my whale, I guess.
Your whale, right.
Tim
Allen,
where we talked about the parts of story.
Tim Allen from Tool Time and from
Last Man Standing.
Last Man Standing, which I love that show. I don't know if it's still on, but it's replaying 24/7 in my house sometimes. Who else did you have on that?
I had Brian Kurtz, I had Dave D, John Benson, Kim Walsh-Shum, just a number of great people.
You got some phenomenal. So can people buy that? Is that a product that you have for people?
Not really a product. I probably should turn it into a book.
Okay. Okay.
So
you're working on that. You put it in ChatGPT, you'll work on that.
Yeah.
All right, my man. So we got it scrolling along the bottom, which is Write Killer Copy Fast. We got his email on this. If you guys want a really good copywriter, great guy, a dark beer connoisseur and an aficionado, you reach out to Jack and please visit him. Check us out on Business Innovation Radio. That's where you get us. I'm going to pay the bills, Jack. It's a pleasure to have you on. We'll have you on again. I want to go deep on this. I gotta read so much more. Did you read Khan's book about AI in education?
No, I haven't.
Really, really, really good. It's on Bill Gates's top 5 books for to read this summer.
Okay.
So it was the only one I was able to finish. The rest of them I'm working on. So
I think we just had an interrupt.
Yeah, he is frozen in time. he must have had an internet outage or something.
Oh, that can happen.
In case he doesn't come back, I can jump in and wrap things up for us. Jack, I've just been a sponge over here in the corner listening, and it's been very insightful. So pleasure meeting you here today. And as Nick had requested, if all works out well, hopefully we can do a part 2 of this. If you're cool with that.
It'd be my pleasure.
Yeah, because as we mentioned, this stuff's always changing. It's moving. I've never seen technology move so fast as it has with AI. 1 month to the next, you'll have some drastic change, So 1 month later, we will have all kinds of new stuff to talk about. And then, of course, copywriting is just kind of like the most evergreen subject matter of all time, right? I mean, that's just never going to change. So,
no.
Yeah. But thanks so much again. On behalf of myself and Nick, unfortunately, we lost him, but I'm sure he'll be back. And Sales Mavericks and Marketing Rebels podcast, thank you again so much for visiting with us today.
My pleasure. Thank you very much. Good to meet you.
Likewise, good to meet you as well. And that does it, guys, for another episode. And we will catch you here next time.
Okay.
Thanks for tuning in to Sales Mavericks and Marketing Rebels. If you enjoyed today's episode, be sure to subscribe, share, and leave us a review. Keep pushing the limits in your business. And remember, the Mavericks and Rebels are always ahead of the game. Catch you next time.